lovely lady who's here in the U.S. for the very first time. Let's give her a warm welcome, Miss Zeinia Merton.
Be here, and please don't overwhelm me. I didn't bring the waterproof my stuff.
Next, we'll bring out Mr. Anton Phillips.
Very much. It's an absolute pleasure to be here. It's my second convention here in America, and if it was anything at all like the first one, I'm sure I'm going to have a wonderful time, as well as you. Thanks again.
And now, big welcome for Prentis Hancock.
Lovely to see everybody. It's lovely to be back in America and to be at a space convention. There's one piece of equipment at main mission that can really get this thing started. Perhaps the only piece of equipment that can actually stop this convention today. And I've got it with me. It's a conlon. So I'd like to declare this convention open.
Who came over from England? Our second last guest who came over from England. I'm not nervous, no. Mr. Johnny Byrne.
I feel like I've been here a lifetime already. I've got 4 more to go. And if you see someone who looks like me wandering around the corridors being overly familiar, ignore it. Thank you very much. It's wonderful.
Now everybody's favorite Alan Carter, Nick Tate.
These guys. This feels to me just like an episode of Space. We've arrived on this strange planet. And we're all older. But it's makeup. I'm wearing this silly wig. It's okay, you want to sit? Okay. Oh well. Guess I gotta live with it. God bless you.
Mr. Barry Morse.
to say that consider yourself up. And actors came before microphones, didn't they? So, first and foremost, of course, I bring you loving greetings, each and every one, from that magnificent lady whom I, over the last 60 years, have grown to call the manager. Because she, alas, is not well these days, and she's in a nursing home in London. But she kindly gave me leave of absence to come and be with you for this couple of days, and I'm taking a few snaps to remind her when I get back of how wonderful it all was. And I know it's going to be a pleasure.
Barbara Bain had to go. She had lots of errands and things to do, but she will be back tomorrow. And we'll keep you posted on everyone else. Well, Nick's spoken to Martin's voice machine, so we'll see. Okay, so do you want to start a little Q&A, everybody? Sure.
At 3:30, Chris Bentley of Fanderson.
The documentary is scheduled for the same time as the autograph session, so I know where most people are probably going to be. I was going to say what I'm going to say at that point years ago, and may feel free to say in his absence. I have always found Jerry to be the most kind, amenable and helpful person it's ever been my pleasure to have any dealings with in the fan community. He's always helped every activity that we've done for Fanderson. He has always come to our conventions in the UK. He has always paid his own way, and he has never asked for any expenses. At our convention in Fanderson in 1996, Fanderson Gold, Jerry came to our convention after having had no sleep for 2 days because he was working on a series. He had flu, and he still came to the convention because he knew how important it was to meet with the fans and to express his views on the programs that he's made. The reasons why he isn't here today are simply this: that Jerry has for 4 years had an excruciating back problem. He had it operated on last year and it hasn't made any difference. He can only spend an hour in a plane in a regular seat, which is just enough to get into Cannes, but isn't enough to fly him across to Los Angeles. He specifically, he didn't impose any restriction on the convention committee when they invited him across to this. He genuinely wanted to come, and he is desperately sorry that he couldn't be here, because he knows how special it is for everybody here today. But 11 and a half hours on an aeroplane, folded up in one of those seats, is very, very uncomfortable. It is for me. I have a knee problem and have to have an aisle seat, and it still was very uncomfortable flying across yesterday. With his back problem, the only way Jerry can fly in an aeroplane is in a larger seat, or one that folds back a long way, he can stretch out and won't be tied into it. And a regular economy seat won't do the trick. He asked if there was any way at all that the convention committee could possibly stump up for something like a business class seat, or wonder of wonders, a first class seat. And of course the answer was that it simply couldn't be afforded. The difference was $700 for a regular seat, which the convention committee could have afforded, and $7,000 for the kind of seat that Jerry would have been comfortable in. Ordinarily, if it wasn't $7,000, Jerry would have paid the difference himself and come. and and therefore I just wanted to make that clear. And he rang me 2 days ago to say that he absolutely didn't want people to be getting the impression that because of his request about his playing seat, that people were thinking that he felt that he was the big I am and was so important that he had to have a third class seat. So, I mean, you can still choose to think what you believe, and as I say, I don't want to contradict what Barry just said, but I just had to get that in before everybody went out of here with what I believe is a completely wrong impression of the man that I know. Thank you very much.
I say nothing behind Jerry Anderson's back that I would not, and have not, indeed, cheerfully said to his face. I came on that 12-hour flight yesterday, in the back of the bus, with all my chums, because you meet a better class of people there. They had the effrontery on this airline known as Virgin, with all the seats up front, which cost, however much we are told they cost. They call them, can you believe it? Can you imagine such mindless monstrosity? They call it the upper class. I have, over the years, had the dubious misfortune of being shoved out the sharp end of aircraft when I've flown so often with particular airlines that they recognize me as their oldest inhabitant and push me at the foreign end. I've had to constantly beg them not to do that because of the monstrous kinds of people you find out there. So, with the greatest personal sympathy for Jerry Anderson, I am in my 82nd year. I was diagnosed with TB when I was 20 and I had angina, and I consider the best back of the bus with the best of them, and happy to do it.
Okay, everyone take a deep breath. Breathe, okay.
So now woven into life, and so much of it, like Black Sun, is sort of coming true in reality. The discoveries being made which justify the imagination. So it's a very, very exciting time. Yeah, Richard. Not really. The only thing I remember is getting off the set with my comlink, which I showed you on the first day. I can't. I mean, particularly, it was obviously a day of great celebration. We had a party, but maybe that's why I forgot.
Yeah, I have a question here.
Yeah.
This is my first day at the show, and of course, I thought that visually this show was far beyond anything that's been done since. And I just was wondering whether you could talk a little bit, first of all, about Jerry and Sylvia Anderson. And, I think that if you look back at all the things that they did, it was really incredible. All these, I really feel that they've created some of the best entertainment over the years. In America, they're kind of underrated. Not too many people know the names, but if you could talk a little bit about both of them.
Sure.
And then secondly, what the kind of the state of the British film and television industry today.
Leading question. Group 3 Productions, I think, was the name of the company that made Space 1999 under the... he made a tremendous amount of material. I was amazed. Recently, Bravo, one of the new satellite channels we had a press evening, gradually worked up to become 35mm, a much bigger venture. And when it started shooting, was the most expensive television series ever made. There was a 2-page spread in Variety the day we started shooting Pinewood, saying this, £2.5 million budget. 2.5 million is, I suppose, 4 million in today's money. It would have been about 10 million in money then, 7.5. And that was in 1973, so let's say it was a 1972 budget. It was a lot of money. It doesn't sound it today, but it was a lot of money then. And they'd spent the money on the costumes, on the set, on the lighting. The idea was we have this sort of set up all the time, permanently lit. So we can walk in the morning, 8:30, shooting starts in London. Start shooting. That didn't work out because, as you may remember, we had sort of beige set, beige colour, beige faces, more or less for most people, beige costumes. There wasn't too much contrast, and so for the first week or so there was a lot of test lighting. This one man did, he circulated every producer for BBC, and eventually it was syndicated all over the place. As you can see, it's a quite different show. When I first started doing it, it was done in, I think it was done in 2 hours, back to back, 2 episodes, one on Thursday and Friday, Wednesday, Thursday. You were in the studio all day, having been in a rehearsal room somewhere at Church Hall for a week. You go to the studio, work with cameras, 5 cameras, do a rehearsal all day long, and do the show 7:30 till 9:30 or 10, I can't remember what, I think it was actually 2 hours of shooting time. And that was generous for a half-hour show at BBC. It was an extra half an hour because it had special effects. And those were done during that 2 hours. And if you were going into overtime, they went bananas because that cost in those days a lot of money. It was all on video, not videotape, it was all on telecine and something else. It was a different system. And they hated stopping it and making it cut. The system's changed totally now. So given all that, that's why it looks the way it does. But if you've ever seen a child looking round the edge of the door, watching Doctor Who, then, it just has this wonderful effect on children. A whole generation grew up being terrified by Doctor Who, the Daleks, the Cybermen. And I've been to Doctor Who things like this, sitting there at 3 o'clock in the morning, and I've been eaten by Daleks, and got by the spitting plants.
Did you enjoy working on the cast with the Doctor Who? About the same, or it's so different that
I went through a wonderful period at the BBC in the late 60s, early 70s. It was just non-stop. It was a sort of one of those periods you can only look back on and say, well, it was great then. And it was. There wasn't the pressure there is today. There weren't as many people in my industry. If you were in the industry, you were sort of looked after. You were all, we used to call it the Acton Hilton. And that was the rehearsal room for the BBC. There were 10 floors of rehearsal rooms with the restaurant on top. You can imagine there's 18 productions rehearsing all the time there. If you were in one of them, all 17 other directors to see you. And you tended just to move from show to show. When I did the Colditz I mentioned, I was on holiday. I was in a canal boat somewhere up in North England.
Plastic sheet over me, and I don't know if it's the same here, but Steve Lanning, who sort of draped this plastic over me, said, hey, he said, you could do the advert for Durex or anything like that. So I said, thanks a lot. Anyway, so I was quite cold, and then Ron Fry, who was our production manager, came to brought his mum. Oh, great cup of tea, the salvation of English. And as I drank it, I thought, it's brandy. Very, very nice brandy. And he kept feeding it to me, and I thought, well, he's the production manager. He's the one that says the girl is drunk and she can't go on. He's giving me permission. So, and also what is very important to actors, and certainly to me, I didn't have any lines. So I knew that even if I got a bit squiffy, excuse me, a bit hoarse, as I say.
Well, you must admit that, remember rather, that I came into it just at the last minute. Oh, wow. Doesn't everyone hear how I got the job? Because this will help. No, I'm not trying to dodge the question. But basically, I learned months, sort of 4 months before, that all my friends were going up for this new series, which was, a lot of publicity in terms, a lot of excitement on the scale of it. Obviously, everybody wanted to be on it. And all my friends, there were 70 guys in the family, get it, trying to do
because they won't let you out, and you're there up to the time of the studio and that really, there's a message saying get to Hyndman on Monday. And I thought, oh no, so I'm going to go, I'm going to come. My agent says, yeah, that's it, bugging me to get there, and now I say you've got to go, you're sort of moaning, get there. So I went off and I saw Sylvia, certainly the Katzin, I can't remember if Jerry was sitting in on it, and they sort of said, we're looking for a foreign. Now we don't care, because everybody knew at the time that a third of the money was by Italian television, and therefore there was a quota of Italian actors. And supposedly I was meant to be Sandra Sabatini, and Alan, as you know, Nick was going to be Catani. So, but by that point, they were so desperate. They said, any accent that you feel comfortable in. So I said, no, it's funny because I kind of got a sort of foreign Mark I, which covers a multitude of things, Eastern, Western, Middle Europe, anything where hopefully no one will listen too carefully and say, that doesn't sound like so-and-so. So anyway, that's called laziness. So I sort of said, okay, I'll do this. And I do still remember my first line to an alpha, which is, there is a steep rise in heat levels in disposal area 1. Sandra's punchline, this is impossible. Phew, next minute the moon's gone, right? And they did sort of say, well, do you think you could do Italian? And I said, I can, and forgive anybody from Italy here, I'm not trying to do, but it is a sort of stereotype of an accent, so no insult intended. But I said the thing about Italian is, as you hear it, it's a very romantic, very musical language. As far as I was concerned, if I had to use that accent as an actress, instead of Sandra, who became Mid-European, rather clipped, I think she was quite impressed actually. But I then said it as, there is a steep rise in heat levels in disposal area 1, this is impossible. Which is kind of clipped, matter of fact, hopefully, that's what I heard. That's why I was getting across. I thought, if I say this in Italian, it's going to be there's a steep rise. I mean, it takes, I know we have good Italian accents, I'm not saying that, but I think for an ongoing character to do this, it would actually hold back, the dialogue or whatever. That's what I felt, and it's not meant as a joke. Wow. I'm surprised that they discovered so many, to be honest, because in those days, you did something and it lasted 3 years and that was it. You went on. No one thought about television being for posterity. It was the poor man's medium. There were hundreds of actors who wouldn't do television because they thought it was demeaning. Right? And there was only sort of struggling bods who thought, they can't, they'll go and do the BBC. I mean, who's that, So, things have changed. People can do commercials. My God, that you might as well be a streetwalker. You had more sense of purpose and responsibility. Do a commercial? And now, you've got to be a movie star to do a commercial because no one else gets them. Anyway, so the fact that so many have been discovered is more of a surprise to me than the fact that a few have been lost. And again, Doctor Who, no, I don't think I had, I was so young, I don't think I could have coped with an accent then. No, I think she was sort of what I am, speaking as I did. But I was playing Chinese, so even if I didn't have an accent, I looked very Chinese. I had a long hair. Anything else on that one? No? Happy? Bill Hartnell, wonderful, old trooper as they say. Sorry if these people don't know, he has gone, unfortunately. But he was well known for being very irascible and but he was absolutely a kind man. And he found out it was my first television. And in those days, to shoot one episode, we actually had a 4-day turnaround, which is pretty speedy work. And he took me aside, he said, I hear, this is your first television, so you obviously need some help. antics and things like that. He said, and in those days it was so expensive to edit tape. You didn't unless someone died while the tape was happening, because VTR was incredible. So, and actually, we actually had a device, which I can't believe now, whereby if as an actor you died, forgot your words, they actually cut the sound, gave you the dialogue, and then put the sound back on again, and then you could go on, see? And so Bill took me aside and he said, I've got a few tips. And he said, look, if you go wrong, he said, they're not going to cut the tape, okay? You understand what I'm talking, tape? I said, yes. He said, so if you go wrong, just say F-U-C-K very loudly, then they'll have to cut the tape, won't they? Unfortunately, another actor topped this by saying, but didn't you hear about poor old Ian Hendry the other day? He did exactly that, and because they didn't want to cut the tape, they just put an aircraft taking off over him because he was doing a series about aircraft. But what you saw was this poor actor going, But maybe in those days people didn't know what that meant. Or maybe they did, that's why we had people now, yeah. Yes, sorry. I can see you're a blur, but it's all right.
How are you also be involved in season 2 of Space? I know probably other actors rate you.
Is it a clutch? And the whole of Hollywood, with all its blazing genius, has never come with luck within light years of it, nor ever will, until they come to understand that the essence of human drama is the simple exchange of human heartbeats. It sounds easy, but I've been trying for 65 years and I ain't got very close. So there, didn't mean to get into all that, but I never mean to get into half these things that I do. But I did try. Since we started out, I blush to confess, but I have to, it's not my error. We started out this great series, which you, by your presence here, are honouring and commemorating. We started out with one script, and even that wasn't entirely complete. Johnny Byrne will tell you, I'm sure, what he did mention it just yesterday, didn't he? That we started out with not even really the bare bones of who we were. I tried to remember the sort of people in the world that are or have been, who might be or become Victor Byrne. And of course, obvious comparison with somebody like Einstein. And as you know, Einstein was a keen musician, and so I thought, well, it'd be fun, wouldn't it? I used to feel very badly. But I thought it might be fun if somewhere down the line, during some emergency, Victor was drilling away a bit of Mozart. But we didn't. I tried, as tactfully as I could, to inject a bit of humanity, you might say, into but you see, without starting a large-scale series with only one script, many people say it's an act of blatant insanity. It's rather as if Shakespeare should have arranged for the first production of Hamlet after he'd written the first line. Where is he going to go? And we didn't have many Shakespeares on our crew. So what we were able to clothe with flesh, as you might say, the very sketchy characters that were laid out for us, was mostly a matter of the inventive imagination of the actors involved. Inevitably, as time.
Anyway, it was a long time after we finished, and so we had no idea what the feedback was going to be like. They told us it was the largest syndicated show in the world, and indeed it was. And it was groundbreaking, and all sorts of things happened. But because it didn't get to be seen until August, September, October, ITC was not prepared to go ahead with the second series. So we were all let go. And we went to various parts of the world, and I guess most of the other actors have been telling you where they went. I went to Australia to do a film called The Devil's Playground, which you can rent. I don't know, anybody ever seen it? Wow, that's disgraceful. Should all see it, it's a wonderful film. Don't get the porno version. Seriously, you got to be careful if you go into, you know, a sleazy place now. I want the Devil's Playground. And go, oh yeah, it's a good movie. I'm the director, and I went back to Australia and I shot that film and I cut my hair this short, and it never grew again. Funny, you know, you say, really again? What happened? As I was saying, you know, when I came out yesterday, we had Prentis and Zeinia and Anton and Barry and Johnny Byrne. We were all sitting out here. It's amazing. I hadn't seen these guys either, just like you hadn't seen me and I hadn't seen them. I looked at these guys and I said, wow, you know, this is like being in an episode of Space 1999 all over again. And we've landed in this strange planet, and we're all suddenly, we're old. I still, you know, I'm 15 inside this thing, you know, it's incredible. And I got the Devil's Playground, and then I came back to Gerry Anderson and I did a thing called After Tomorrow or Into Infinity. I don't think anybody could ever make up their mind what it was going to be called, so they called it both those names. And it was a sort of a sticking plaster thing that Gerry did between Space 1999 because he didn't know if we were going ahead with another series. Nobody knew. And then ITC came up with a decision around about the end of 1975 that they were going ahead with it, but they didn't want anybody that had been in it before. So we all were like that, you know, and they got a whole new cast, and then they set back, except for Barbara Bain, of course, and then they suddenly decided that they would like to have me back, and I came and I said to Martin, well, that's great. He said he had 8 scripts, and I said, terrific, and I'm not in any of them, right? And he says, no, but we'll work it out. So they worked it out, and then they got Zeinia back, and so, but they didn't bring all the rest of the people back, and I always felt that they really should have, and I like the second series, but I've always had a real soft spot for the first series. You know, it was just like we were all growing together and we had this relationship and we were very like the people. There she is again! Oh, thank you, Sandra. She's always doing that. Rolling around. Yeah. So, what was I talking about? Look at all those wonderful people. Oh, thank you. Thank you so much for loving this series. You're beautiful people. That applause is for all of you. You know, that's and for the writers and the concept and Gerry Anderson. God bless these socks. He put this thing together. You know. No, he did. What do you know? He did. God bless these socks. He said to me, I have to tell you, I don't like actors. That was a great beginning. Thanks a lot, Gerry. I feel real secure about that. But he was okay. You know, Gerry, I got on very well with Gerry because after all, he did bring me back in the middle of the 2 series and gave me a starring role in a television series that he hoped sincerely would go ahead as a new space series. But he got word just whilst we were shooting it that in fact it was very probable that he would be able to shoot a second Space 1999. So all the energies then, because we always wanted that, everybody always wanted that. So all the energies were then devoted towards doing the second series. And it was a bit of a secret, and Johnny Byrne will be able to tell you if you've been to his seminar yet, but in fact he was brought in on that very thing. Johnny was brought in to start building the whole concept of the second series, looking at the possibilities, the things that were right, the things that were wrong, and so forth, and building all that. And that was all secret. None of us knew that. I was off doing other things, and then I started doing some theater, going around England, and I got married. Yeah, I got married in 1977. Oh, no, that was a little bit later. We did the second series in 76, that's right. But I met my wife, Hazel, and this little lady here, please stand up, Jessica. This is the result of that marriage. A very wonderful result. I have 2 beautiful children. I have a son called Tom, who I was just talking to on the phone, and kept ringing me from New York and saying, "How can it be what's happening?" But Dad, it is. He might call me back again in a minute. He's 19, he's 6'2", he's a great athlete, and he's also, I don't know why, he wants to be an actor, so he's at NYU studying drama, and he's done all kinds of musicals, and he's a great singer, and it's very funny because at home, when my kids are at home, Jessie is the actress. She's the one always doing the funny voices and telling all the gags, and she's a very good mimic, and Tom never does anything. He's very, very quiet. Well, he does lots of stuff, but he doesn't pretend to be an actor. I'm always doing funny voices. Jessie's always doing funny voices. And so it's strange because when he walks out,
because their show overnight still have like voting things to do. So it's got some Corey.
I don't have anything with
No. And it's had a unique style.
But you still don't want to be locking and unlocking this door.
Shelby would like that. It's the one that works together. Oh, she's.
No, I don't know. You either done a series or you don't, you see that.
But none of this stuff.
People would come across the video and I was going,
Very good. Yeah. Well, we don't know. Well, this particular stuff, I'm just going to break.
If nobody takes this set away, it goes to the garbage. Okay? We've handed the papers around that are going to tell you how much it's going to cost to get it out of here. The getting it out of here part starts at 5:30 tomorrow night. So if you buy it tonight, it's yours tomorrow at 5:30. Guess what? We're going to throw in, for the price of this set, somebody to take it apart. Are they going to move it too? I'm charging this set here. Chris, where's Chris? Oh, we don't know. We haven't seen him for hours. Probably sleeping under a table somewhere. Okay, anyways, to my knowledge, we have guys to take it apart and put it in boxes, but after that, you're on your own. Sheets of paper have been out about how much it costs to move this thing from A to B. But I have a better suggestion. There's a storage place just up the street here. My suggestion is if you buy this tonight, you go see them tomorrow morning, they move it half a mile up, put it in the storage compartment, and then you guys can think about it for months what you're going to do with this thing. Okay, so this is what we're going to do with the set. Anybody who's interested in taking the set away, but not giving us any money, are all going to put their hands up. Then I'm going to go up by $25 increments. So we're starting at 0, which means you're just going to promise to take it away from us by 5 o'clock tomorrow night. We're going to go take it away by 5 o'clock tomorrow night and $25. And then every time you think you can't make that price, put your hand down. How does that sound? All right? Ready? Okay. When is it going to hit the 1 mark? The midnight? When is it going to hit 12? Okay. All right. When we have 10 seconds left. Okay. All right. Then we're going to do the art thing. I got 30 seconds to this. What's going to happen is 75% of it goes to the artists. The artists have agreed to give us back 25% from the total bidding price. Once again, check Barbara's charity. And we're going to try and do this really, really fast. And there's a there's a surprise announcement at the end of this art auction.
10.
All right, everybody who wants to take this thing away at 5:30 tomorrow night, but not give us any money, put it down. Put your hands up, down.
2, 1, 0.
Okay, somebody who promises to take this thing away at 5:30 tomorrow night plus 50 bucks. Give us 50 bucks. Everybody who wants to take it away and give us 75 bucks. Everybody who wants to take it away and 100. Everybody who wants to take it away and 150. Everybody who wants to take it away and 200. Take it away and 250. Take it away and 300. Take it away and 325.
Well, I think at 300.
Take it.
Was it 300?
Is it 300? Take it away and 300 to the lovely gentleman from Tate. Thank you very much. "40 seconds, ladies and gentlemen."
Up front, first bid of $40. Now then, I think the black sign's worth that, don't you? Never mind Martin, never mind me. So we need substantial advances if possible, and it really is, feel free to have a closer look if you like, because the lighting isn't all that hot, but it really is of considerable quality as a painting, quite regardless of the subject matter, of course. So, what about some bids now? Anybody got any thoughts? Any advance on, as the girl said to the sailor? 50, says the gentleman. 50, says the gentleman. We're going from 50 now. 55, I hear. And the gentleman in the front there says 100. Well done, sir. Thank you. We have $100. 120. 120, says the other gentleman. 150, says the first gentleman. 2 gentlemen in black, obviously of considerable means. Now, 150 we have. 150. Come on now, any advance on 150? 200, says the lady. Really? Really? Well done, guys. Thank you. Well now, 200 we have. 200. We're getting astronomical, aren't we? We're getting supersonic. We're getting whatever other extravagant word I can't think of. 225, says the gentleman. 225. Well, it really is. No, quite seriously, all foolishness apart, it really is, I think, a very worthwhile work of art as a painting of 2 human beings. Never mind the 2 human beings they happen to be. So we have 225. 225. There it is now. Terry's wheeling it down the aisle there. And we have
Right side up. Yeah, right side up.
Good, good, good. It's a lovely, lovely piece of work. It really is. I mean,
Well, yes, of course. Real article.
If the recipient purchaser doesn't think I would be defacing the work of art in any way by my miserable means in writing, of course I'd be glad to. It might be better to do it on the back, because the way the composition is arranged and the way the colour scheme is arranged, it might be damaging. So we've got at present 225 from the young lady here, whose name I'm afraid I don't know.
No. Well, I'll make it 250.
Oh, well, thank you. You can see I wouldn't get much of a salary out of Sotheby's, would I? We have 250. We have 250. 250 while my voice holds out. Thank God I didn't have to do another show tonight. Or do I? I don't know. Somebody will tell me. 250 we have. Any advance on 250? And therefore, I am about to say 250 once, 250 twice, like the guys in the picture. 250 for the third and last time. Going, going, gone!
Surprise got one. We'll have the surprise again tomorrow.